Deep beneath a remote island in Finland, engineers are building a tomb designed to last for 100,000 years. This tomb is not for a king. It is for a poison so dangerous that it must be locked away from the world forever. They are carving a city of tunnels nearly half a kilometer deep into solid rock, a network that will stretch for 50 kilometers. This is the story of Onkalo, the world's first permanent nuclear waste city, an engineering marvel built to outlast civilization itself. But how do you build something to survive longer than the pyramids? And what happens if you get it wrong? For over 70 years, nuclear power has given the world incredible amounts of energy. But it has always come with a question that no one could truly answer. What do we do with the waste? This spent nuclear fuel stays dangerously radioactive for thousands of generations. For decades, countries stored it in temporary pools and concrete casks, essentially kicking the can down the road. But in 1994, Finland did something different. They passed a law that said all of their nuclear waste had to be permanently dealt with inside Finland. They could not sell it, ship it, or leave it for their children to solve. This single decision started a 40-year journey. Scientists searched the entire country for the perfect spot. They needed rock that was ancient, stable, and strong. In the year 2000, they found it on a quiet island called Onkalo, home to one of their nuclear power plants. The bedrock here is nearly 2 billion years old, a solid block of granite and gneiss that has barely moved since it was formed. It was one of the most stable places on Earth. They named the project Onkalo, the Finnish word for hiding place. The mission was to dig deep into this ancient rock and build a final resting place for their nuclear legacy. So they found the perfect rock. But how do you carve a city inside it without breaking it? The first step was to dig, but this is not like digging a normal tunnel. The goal was not speed, it was perfection. Starting in 2004, engineers began carving a giant spiral ramp, like a corkscrew, heading down into the earth. This main access tunnel is 5 kilometers long. To put that in perspective, if you stood it on its end, it would be taller than 16 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of each other. It slopes gently downwards, wide enough for large trucks, reaching a final depth of over 400 meters, which is like going down the height of a skyscraper. They used a careful drill and blast method, setting off controlled explosions to remove about 5 meters of rock at a time. Every single blast was designed to cause as little damage as possible to the surrounding rock, because that rock is the most important wall of this tomb. They also drilled 3 huge vertical shafts for people, air, and equipment, using a special technique called raise boring. This is where they drill a small hole down, then pull a massive cutting head back, carving out a perfect circle. Digging this deep brings challenges. Even in this solid rock, there are tiny cracks with water in them. To keep the tunnels from flooding, engineers pump a special cement called grout into the cracks to seal them. They even developed a special low pH grout that will not harm the other materials in the tomb over thousands of years. The entire construction process was also a giant science experiment. As they dug, they were constantly testing the rock, mapping every crack, and measuring every drop of water to make sure their computer models were correct. They were learning about the rock as they built inside of it. But the tunnels are just the container. The real magic is in the system designed to hold the waste itself. It is called the KBS-3 method, and it is like a set of Russian nesting dolls with 5 layers of protection between the nuclear waste and the outside world. Barrier number 1 is the fuel itself, which is a solid ceramic material. But the real engineering starts with barrier number 2, the canister. This is not just a simple metal box. It is made of 2 parts. The inside is a super strong cast iron frame that can handle the immense pressure of the rock above it. The outside is a 5 centimeter thick shell of pure, corrosion-proof copper. Each canister is over 5 meters tall and can weigh up to 29,000 kilograms, as much as 4 large elephants. Sealing this copper shell is one of the most important steps. They use a futuristic technique called friction stir welding. A special tool spins at high speed and pushes down on the lid. It does not melt the copper. It heats it up just enough to turn it into a soft solid, like clay, and then stirs the two pieces together. When it cools, the lid and the canister have become one solid piece of metal with no seam. It is a perfect seal, and every single one is checked with ultrasound to make sure it is flawless. Now for barrier number 3, the buffer. Each sealed canister is lowered into a deep hole drilled into the floor of a disposal tunnel. The space around the canister is then packed with blocks of a special material called bentonite clay. This is no ordinary clay. When it gets wet from the tiny amounts of groundwater in the rock, it swells up and fills every single crack, creating a tight, waterproof cocoon around the canister. It acts like a shock absorber, protecting the canister from any small movements in the rock, and it stops water from ever touching the copper surface. Barrier number 4 is the backfill. Once a tunnel is filled with canisters, each in its own clay-lined hole, the entire tunnel is filled up with more bentonite clay and crushed rock, sealing it off completely. And finally, barrier number 5, the bedrock itself. Hundreds of meters of ancient, solid granite. This natural barrier has been stable for nearly 2 billion years, and it will protect the tomb from anything that happens on the surface, from ice ages to earthquakes. 5 layers of protection, all designed to work without any power or human help forever. So what does this incredible project cost? And when will it finally be ready? This century-long project comes with a huge price tag. The total cost over its entire lifetime is estimated to be around 3 to 5 billion euros. But the money does not come from taxpayers. In Finland, the nuclear power companies that create the waste are required by law to pay for its disposal. The cost is built into the price of the electricity they sell. After decades of construction, Onkalo is now in its final phase. In August 2024, they began the final trial run, testing every piece of the system with non-radioactive dummy canisters. In a high-tech building on the surface, robotic arms will lift the real spent fuel into the copper canisters behind 1.3 meter thick concrete walls. After being welded shut, a special elevator will lower the canisters 430 meters down into the repository, where a remote-controlled vehicle will carry them to their final resting place. The facility is expected to begin receiving its first real canisters of spent fuel in the mid-2020s, as soon as it gets its final operating license from the Finnish government, a process which has seen delays and is now expected to be decided by the end of 2025. But not everyone is convinced it is a perfect solution. Some scientists worry that over 100,000 years, the copper canisters could still corrode in unexpected ways. Others argue that we should not bury the spent fuel at all, because it still contains a huge amount of energy that future technologies might be able to unlock. But Finland has made its choice to take responsibility for its waste now. For the next 100 years, Onkalo will slowly fill up. Then, around the year 2120, the main entrance will be sealed shut, and the site will be left to disappear back into the forest, with its secret buried deep below. Onkalo is more than just a tunnel. It is an answer to one of the biggest questions of the atomic age. It is a message in a bottle thrown into the deep ocean of time. A monument taking responsibility. Finland is the first country to build a tomb like this, but others like Sweden, France, and Canada are now following their lead. What do you think? Is this the ultimate solution to nuclear waste? Or are we burying a treasure that future generations might need? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the Earth's oldest secrets, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss our next deep dive into the world's most incredible engineering projects.